Good morning, everybody. Welcome to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, exciting times once again.
Seems like a lot of things happen in between our shows between Tuesday and Thursday, and now we're beginning to see a small glimpse, a little bit of the picture. I preached the patience on Tuesday of seeing who is fishing where. And now there's 3 or 4 websites that have committed to angler tracking to see where they are going to be fishing this year.
Yes.
And I think we've got about 31, 32 on the Bass Pro Tour. Right now we have 1 on the FLW Tour. Brian Thrift, obviously a lot of those guys will be there, but Thrift is fishing. He did not. And 3 that are going to be back for the Elite Series, but only 1 of which that has come out and said, hey, I'm fishing the Elite Series next year, had a Bass Pro Tour invite, and that would be none other than Chris Zaldain.
And we're going to have him on the show here in about 30, 40 minutes. We mentioned on the show that we did on Tuesday, and by the way, I really appreciate the feedback I've received. I know you have also an enormous amount of feedback from that show that we did with Boyd Duckett. So many thanks to all the people that have sent in comments. And the dynamics of this whole thing, Matt, are very, very interesting. And from a media perspective, it has been it's like I've been doing this so long that I find myself just kind of twisted and turned like I'm inside a washing machine, just going 20,000 different directions. Sometimes I'm on spin cycle. Sometimes I'm rinsing. Sometimes there's more clothes being thrown in to the bucket. It's just, it's something that we have never experienced from an angling standpoint, from a media standpoint, even from a friendship standpoint with a lot of the people that we've developed friendships over the years, that this is really becoming a battle. And you could classify it as an internal battle within themselves to make a decision on which organization that they cement their career in.
Let me lay out the different types of anglers right now. We'll start. We got the FLW Tour guys who didn't get an invite, probably didn't think they should get an invite, that are going to fish the FLW Tour next year, no matter what. They're kind of neutral on this, but they're not happy now because of what the Elite Series guys at Bass Pro guys are fishing for. Then you've got the FLW Tour guys. I think 7 have already committed who are going to the Bass Pro Tour. And then a number of them are not happy that they didn't get an invite. They're sitting there, look, I've got $1.5 million in earnings, cup titles, Angler of the Year. I didn't get an invite. Then you've got the Elite Series guys who are all in on the Bass Pro Tour. A lot of those are the original 24 who started this thing 7 years ago. You got some who have a stake in the Bass Pro Tour. So they were 100% in from the beginning. There's not a shred of doubt in their mind that they're making the right decision. Mm-hmm. Then you've got a number of those Elite Series guys who are, looked at it, saw it, and said, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I don't think they're having any. Then you've got a chunk in the middle that I think are kind of, man, you look at the payouts of the Bass Pro Tour and a couple second places, and I'm making more than I make all year on the Elite Series, bar none. And then you've got the guys who are leaning towards the Elite Series. Obviously, based on the numbers so far, a lot fewer leaning towards the Elite Series than are leaning towards the Bass Pro Tour. I think Boyd said on Tuesday when we had Boyd Duckett on that we know about what we've seen about 50% of the, what do you call them, bells and whistles and format and all the stuff. And who knows what these guys know who are making the decision. I would hope they may know more than 50% since they're the ones making it. But then on the bass side, who knows what percentage we know too about what they actually have plans-wise and what they've offered their anglers too. So there's a lot going on from a lot of different aspects. And what is it? Is it Switzerland? Is that who's the neutral country that?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we don't have a side here, which is why it's so intriguing.
Yeah.
Because we can see all 8 angles of it, and you can make a legitimate case for all 8 angles.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thay I was thinking about yesterday, Matt, was with all the posturing, with all the let's face it, there's some jabs out there, you know?
Yeah, there's been some ugly stuff.
And would all of this taken place if social media didn't exist? You know, is this something, do you think that even back in the 70s and 80s when expansion was taking place? I mean, we've heard stories that Harold Allen has told us. It's not like there is uniqueness of bickering, for lack of a better term, between individuals and organizations and everything else. Mm-hmm. This has been taking place, but has social media put this at the forefront?
100%.
Of wow, the communication, the methodology that some of these guys and the organizations are using try to, let's face it, recruit. That's what they're doing.
It does. It sounds.
That's what they're doing.
It's weird. It sounds like there's a lot of recruiting going on from the guys who are on the fence by the guys who are on the Bass Pro Tour, and then also a lot of recruiting from the guys who are going to be on the Elite Series to try to get other guys to stay on the Elite Series. Yeah. And it's just real interesting if you look at the social media stuff. You kind of can scroll through certain posts that are definitely leaning towards one direction and see who likes it or who comments, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting double tap there by Angler X.
Yeah.
On a Pro Elite Series or a Pro Bass.
Yeah.
Pro Bass Tour.
Yeah.
Post.
Hey, I'm seeing it on the instant feedback right now. I think the general consensus from the fan base is they want to know who's going where.
Right. Which we'll say we'll know. I mean, you're getting kind of a picture of it, but you'll know next week.
Yeah. They also want to know who got an invite and who didn't get an invite. And I don't know if we will ever find out the truth or any of that information.
Here's the only way to do it. Is to go on the Elite Series next year and at one tournament as they come off stage say, did you get a Bass Pro Tour invite? Check it off whether they did or didn't, because if they're fishing the Bass Pro Tour, it's pretty obvious that they got an invite.
Yeah, you could make that assumption. You could.
So there's an easy way.
All right. Now on Tuesday's show, we opened the show with giving props to the man that got it done in earning, and that's what he did, earning probably the most prestigious, hard-earned title that everybody wants in the Angler of the Year on the Bassmaster Elite Series, and that's Justin Lucas. And I think what's getting lost in a lot of this posturing and everything that's taking place is the performance that Mr. Lucas had during 2018.
We talked about it, 5 top 12s to end the year. His baby is 10 months old, traveling with his wife and kid to most of the tournaments. He had his 2 brothers at the Angler of the Year Championship. A lot of pressure put on him. He stated, and was not prompted into this, that everything that was going on in the industry was weighing on him during that tournament. He's fishing against one of his buddies in Josh Bertrand, who's only 9 points behind him. He doesn't fancy himself a midsummer, late season type angler. Their industry is in chaos, and right in the middle of it, he's got to figure out a way to go catch fish. And he understands all this. I mean, he's a smart guy. So it's not like he just had one sole focus. He had 5 or 6 different major things going on in his life and was able to put that aside for the 8 hours on the water. And, he said multiple times, man, I'm just ready to get this over with.
Yeah.
But he also was able to remain focused. So very, very impressive with what he did. And that's mainly when we talked to him today is what we're going to focus on. 100% is his 2018 season, because regardless of what happens next year and who goes what and where, and what the Angler of the Year title means for the next couple of years, this was against the full Elite Series field in a very dynamic year that I think will go down in history as one of the most intriguing years in professional fishing, and he'll be right there in the middle as the guy who got it done as Angler of the Year on the Elite Series.
Yeah, a couple people on the instant feedback want to know if Lucas is going to make the announcement on this show.
Are we even going to ask him?
We're not even going to.
No, we're not even going to ask him.
What I will ask him, though, is he still... there's nothing wrong with asking him, hey, are you still in the decision mode? Right. Are you still working toward making a decision?
Here's the only thing I want to ask him. How much of what is going on in the industry added pressure, stress, took focus away from his on the water stuff.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see, did he ever find himself on the water thinking about what is going on in the industry, or was he able to put it out of his head?
Yeah. All right. What time is he expecting our call, Matthew?
Well, I told him, I think he's doing some sponsor stuff. I know he's had to do some photo shoots and a bunch of stuff. So I don't know if he's home or not. He might be home. But I told him about now.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep it right here.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and call him because I for some reason and you know this, Matthew, there is a ton of construction taking place in this surrounding area where the studio is.
You don't want to drop
right
the
now.
stream. That's
I
what
do
it comes
not
down
want
to.
Yeah. So this time, what we're going to do, we're going to keep everything here.
No, just cold call him,
and we're just going to call him
when he comes on. So I give it 50% that he answers on this. If not, we can dial up Zaldain first. The guy's got a lot on his plate.
Let's see here.
There's also been some good memes out. Have you seen some of the GIFs and the memes?
No. Is that what you showed me this morning?
Yeah. There's some funny stuff. I think the dude's name...
It's pretty funny.
Well, I mean, obviously, you got David Mullins over there, who's quite entertaining with some of his posts. But I think like Kane Simpson, he's a good look up on the old Instagram as far as some funny stuff going on there. Is it ringing?
We're trying. Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, Justin, Mark, and Matt, you are live, man. How are you?
I'm live. What's up? That's good. How's it going?
Yeah, we just like to just bring you in hot.
I agree. I'm taking some people from Abu Garcia fishing right now, so no problem. I can talk on the phone for a couple minutes. So.
All right, cool.
We won't keep you too long.
Yeah, very, very busy. Congrats once again for earning the top spot in the Angler of the Year. But with all this madness taking place, Matt and I both agree that somewhat your accomplishments are a little bit lost with all the chaos that's taking place in professional fishing. And, dude, I'm telling you, the performance that you had, especially the second half of the season, really deserves the props. And we wanted to get you on to just kind of talk about your performance and what it means to earn this title.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, I've told people there obviously is a lot going on in the fishing industry this week. I've told people that, I only had something to prove to myself this year, and I went out there and did that. So even though there's a lot going on in the industry, I don't feel, like I'm missing out really. Everybody's saying, man, I feel bad for you. But I'm not looking for the recognition from other people, to be honest. I did this for myself. And like I said on stage, for my grandpa too, that he was such an influential part of my life growing up, getting me out on the water and taking me fishing that, it's okay. Things are going to happen this week and things are going to change, but I'm good with it. I don't feel like I'm missing out or, missing anything. And it's all good. The bottom line is I have the trophy in my truck right now. And when I get home tomorrow, that thing's going up on the mail at the house, and it's going to have a good spot.
We talked to a lot of guys who have won the trophy. We actually talked to everybody who's won a trophy over the past 10 years, and a lot of them say, man, it hasn't sunk in yet. Like, I've won it, I've got the trophy, everyone's congratulating me, but I don't feel like an Elite Series champion. I don't feel like the Angler of the Year. I don't feel like the Classic champion because it just hasn't sunk in yet. Has it sunk in with you?
It has. I mean, I feel like it has sunk in. It's just weird. The weirdest part about it is, when I look at the list of guys that have won it before me, I've always put them up on, for lack of a better term, like put them up on a pedestal. Like, these guys are, the best that have ever lived, and the guys that have won the Angler of the Year trophy. And when you put my name in that, that's the part that's weird, because I haven't ever considered myself as good as Aaron Martins or as good as, Kevin Van Dam. And I certainly don't have the credentials that they have, but for this season I do. And it's amazing. It's humbling, and of course I want another one. But for now, I'm enjoying this one, and I do feel like it has sunk in for me.
You look at the past, this is just my observation. Tell me if I'm wrong here. You look at some of the past Angler of the Years, you're talking consistency over the long haul, dealing with adversity, catching fish on a regular basis all across the country. A lot of the Angler of the Years, and obviously Kevin Van Dam, who has the most of them, he's a very intense guy, but I never get the nervous energy feel from him. Then you got guys, like Aaron and Brandon and stuff. They just seem like mellow. Even Swindle to an extent. Mellow. Dude, when I'm around you and you're in contention, you seem like super stressed out. Like high strung, high energy, leave me the hell alone. And a lot of times, people I've been around, that translates into total meltdowns. How are you able to take that energy, and maybe I'm just reading it wrong, but tell me if it's there or not, and turn that into positive results on such a regular basis instead of letting it go the opposite direction?
I think that people have maybe taken that the wrong way too, that I don't want to talk to them for some reason or whatever, but I do feel like I've always been a really intense competitor. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I want to win and I want to be the best at it. And I do get quiet around tournaments, and I do get maybe a little bit shorter with people than I do, but obviously afterwards we're having a good time having this conversation and everything is good. But man, during the heat of the moment, during the week of a tournament, if I have a chance to win, there's literally nothing else on my mind. I don't care about anything else other than, getting the job done that week. And I've been able, to block everything out up to this point and do that. That's not to say that I don't feel the pressure. I certainly felt a lot of pressure last week going into this tournament. But I just tried to put all of that pressure, bottle it up and just put it towards my fishing and to make me focus and be efficient on the water. And it worked out well this week doing it that way. So that's really like crunch time for any professional athlete, is how well are you going to perform under pressure? And, I was feeling pressure leading up to this tournament, and I'm thinking, what have the great athletes done, when they're in this spot? They don't fold. They embrace that pressure and use it to even make them better than they probably really are at that time. And I can't tell you how happy I am with the top 8 finish coming into this tournament, because that was my goal. That was the one thing on my mind. And at the end of the tournament, when I finished 7th place, it was just like a little pound on my chest, like, hey, you did your job. You did what you wanted to do. And that to me is extremely satisfying.
All right, very nice. Justin, this is the only question that we're going to ask you in relation to everything that's going on. Really, are you close to making a decision, and how difficult is this decision going to be, and is there any specific way that you are going to announce what tour that you're going to fish?
I'm trying to lay low. I haven't officially made a decision yet. I would say I'm probably getting close, but I still have a couple days to think about it, and I've been really busy since winning the tournament. But all day on Friday, I'm going to sit down, talk with a few, important people, and try and make the decision hopefully Friday or Saturday. I may not announce which direction I'm going then, just because I don't know. That's kind of a touchy thing, right? Like, I just want to make sure that I do it one way or the other, the right way. So I'm going to take some time to think about that. And, I'm looking forward to the future, whichever direction that's going to be. That's probably all I need to say, or I'm going to say about that for now.
When you look back over the past season, and you've had a couple days to do that now, was there one moment in it where you can look back and say that's where I won the Angler of the Year?
I honestly think that one moment, there was one key tournament, and then there was one moment in the day. The moment in the day was at Grand Lake. The first day, I have 2 fish for 2.5, 3 pounds at 12:30, and I guarantee you at Bass Track, on Bass Track at the time, I was probably in last place or very close to it. And I picked up a spinning rod, and just got back to something that I was comfortable doing. And I caught 17.5 pounds in an hour and a half. And so I know that I shot all the way up from the bottom of the leaderboard to a top 20 that day. So that was the most critical day. And then it was included in the tournament was the because Josh Bertrand won that event. Him and I were 2 and 3 going into that event. And he could have easily passed me the points, and I could have been behind him if I just had an average finish, a 20th or 25th place. He would have had a lead coming into Chattooga, and things might have been different. So those two, that tournament and that specific day at Grand Lake were hands down just the most important and most critical things that happened to me this year.
You mentioned you picked up the spinning rod at Grand. I'm curious. Obviously, we went up north. We watched you on Bass Live, what you did with the spinning rod on the St. Lawrence River. But how much did you have a spinning rod in your hand this year during your Angler of the Year season?
I made 1, 2, 3. I think out of the 6 top 12s, 3 of them on a spinning rod, 3 of them on the casting. So it's just a mix, But I'm so comfortable with the spinning rod that when I need to do it, it's not a problem. I don't feel like I'm picking a spinning rod up, and I don't feel like a lot of guys pick a spinning rod up and they feel like they're fishing to get a check. If I pick a spinning rod up, I feel like I'm fishing to make a top 12. And I think, that's probably a big difference, man, is I've had a lot of really good tournaments on a spinning rod. And I know that when I've got one in my hands, I have absolutely the most confidence you can have. And, but I still am proud to be versatile too, and be able to flip and frog and, do stuff at the Sabine River to make a top 12 and places where I can't use the spinning rod either.
Not versatile at Chattooga, though, where he went with the "if it ain't chrome, leave it at home" motto.
That was the weather was stable. That hurricane missed us, and so I just knew that I needed to find as many brush piles as possible, and I knew that I needed to hit as many as possible in a day. It took 3 or 4 casts over a brush pile to call them up, and if they were there and they were going to bite, it was going to happen quickly. If they weren't, it was on to the next spot. So I did have I feel like a really strong game plan. The only thing that maybe hindered me a little bit was the amount of boat traffic. I wasn't prepared for that. That certainly hurt my top line bite a little bit, just the amount of waves and everything. But still, 7th place, not complaining. I'm very satisfied with it.
All right, man. We're gonna let you go. I have one more question, but we definitely want to get you on the show.
What you got?
We want to get you on the show once things settle down. Toward
in 8 months?
Well, maybe before 2019.
10-month-old baby. He's the reigning Angler of the Year. There's a new bass tour out. We don't even know what the schedules are. Who's fishing? The things are not going to settle down for like a year, Mark.
Well, I'm hoping that he will at least give us 20 or 30 minutes between now and December 31st. Can we make that happen? Can we make that happen? All right. All right. Last question. Several people on the instant feedback want to know, what was it like fishing on Sunday knowing that the title was pretty much yours?
It was weird because I was in contention to win the tournament, so I was really just focused on winning the tournament. I never took a couple minutes to think about how, I'm going to get the trophy at the end of the day or anything like that. When it hit me more than anything, and somebody shared a picture with me on Instagram, and I'm so happy that they did, because I was second or third boat from laying in, and Gerald Swindle hopped in my boat and gave me a big hug, and he just said, "Man, look around here." He goes, the competition level will never be as it was here this week. You did something amazing. You need to look around here and take it all in. And that's when I started feeling like, oh my gosh, starting to feel overwhelmed with what I had accomplished. And Kevin Van Dam hopped in the boat right after him, and just congratulated me and all that. And that was just really, really surreal. But I have a picture from Gerald getting in there, giving me a hug, and I sent him a text last night and just sent him that picture, and I said, I can't tell you how much that meant to me. And, I appreciate the leadership that you've always shown for sport. And he's definitely one of the best guys out here. And, that was cool. Really, really cool.
All right, man. We're going to let you go. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes and spending some time with us. But best of luck to you, man. Enjoy the title.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, there you have it, Justin Lucas, and
still working, still grinding, out there working with the sponsors.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
I bet with him, he's probably like the number one ranked high school quarterback in the country who hasn't made his decision on where he's going yet.
I 100% agree.
I would love to hear the recruiting pitches that guy has gotten thrown from both sides of the fence right now.
That's what it is.
He's got Eglers from Bass in his ear. He's got Eglers from the Pro Bass Pro Tour in his ear. He's got sponsors in his ear on both sides. He's got people high up, and probably owners of the organizations in his ear on both sides. He's got media in his ear. He's got family. I mean, he's the guy right now.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to try and get Zaldain on?
Yeah, just
right
give
now?
him a call too.
Okay, let's see here.
But would you not agree that it's probably a very chaotic time to be Justin Lucas?
Very.
And hey, if there's one guy who can handle it and come out level-headed, I feel like if it gets too crazy, he'll just say, you, and you, go away, leave me alone, I'll let you know in 2 days.
All right, let's see if we can get Zaldain.
I didn't tell him it would be an unknown number.
Hello.
Hey, you're live, Chris.
Cool.
Yeah, we just decided to bring everyone in hot today for some reason.
Well, we don't want to lose the stream. There is a tremendous amount of construction going on around the studio, and they're messing with lines and roads and wires and utilities. So while we have a very good stream, we wanted to get you on, Chris.
Perfect time. Just got back in from feeding a little baby cow here at my in-laws' place. So, yeah, crazy times, man. Crazy times. It's actually nice that over the last couple of nights here, I've actually got some decent sleep. The whole AOY week, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The decision that faced every one of the 50 guys or 70 guys who were invited. It was just, man, hell week. It really was. And
Hell week.
Yeah, hell week. Going back to the tournament, the final day, I caught a huge bag, throwing a big swim bait, and it's like that was the day. Like, wow. I mean, all the hype and all the thoughts that go through your head, and that day, that's why we do it right there, to have fun. Throw the baits you want to throw and just fish loosely, and big things happen. So that was a really cool cap to the season.
Before Mark gets into this and starts asking you questions, we just had Justin Lucas on for a few minutes. He was out fishing. How impressive, considering the climate of the industry and this season, how impressive is what Justin Lucas was able to accomplish this year?
Yeah, there's no doubt he's from the era of, hard work, using every resource you have to get the best results, whether it be social media, Bass Zone articles, map study, various websites, whatever it might be. Man, he is a product of that era where they use everything that they can to be successful. And there's no doubt this day and age, it is very, very hard to capture that title. So, very good job to him.
Matt, how many years was it ago that we had Chris on when he made the decision to make that move and fish the Elite Series? What was it?
2012?
Yeah, 2012 was my rookie season. You guys reached out and had us on, and it was 7 years ago now. So
because I remember I was staying at Fred Rambanis' house in Bixby. I had a Bass Nation event that weekend, and Chris, you were in a beat-up truck with like a 1970 Bass Cat with like a tiller steer on it. That you were like stopping, stopping by, and I had just seen. All I knew of you was I had seen all of the Stren series and stuff that, or the Ever Starts that you had done out west, and I was like, oh, here's this West Coast prodigy, and I'm like, this is how he roll, like, okay.
It wasn't the beat up. The truck was not decent. The truck was nice. The boat was like a 2010. It had a single power pole. I mean, it wasn't what I have now, but yeah, that's funny.
All right. Well, the reason that I bring that up is I recall that conversation actually about how tough the decision was based upon the current responsibilities that you had at your occupation. All right.
Yeah.
You had a great job in Northern Cal, and you decided that this is the decision that I have made because this is what I want to do for a career and for my future. What I want to know, Chris, is how difficult was this decision, and did that decision compare to that decision to leave the secure world and tackle the world of professional fishing?
Bass fishing. First of all, Mark, that you got an awesome memory, and that's an excellent question. And there's been a lot of parallels between that decision for me to leave my, $90,000 a year job, to go, chase fish for a living. A lot of parallels between that scenario and what we were faced with here this past week. And to answer that question, it's real simple. I do it because I love it. I'm passionate about it, and I'm all about setting goals and crushing goals. Like, I'm all about setting them and seeing the path to that goal and making the appropriate steps to get there. And I've based that. I mean, my whole career is based on that thought right there. And I announced that I'm sticking with bass, and I think I was the first one to do it. And I woke up the other morning, I saw the social media blowing up of all these announcements of guys going to the new league, and man, I let the emotion get the best of me. And over the course of the last 7, 8, 9 days, and a lot of things have happened behind the scenes that, man, it's been a really emotional, experience for me. And I woke up the other morning and I wrote that release there and said, I'm staying with bass because of the goals that are available to the kids, the up and comers, the high school guys, the college guys, the opens guys, the goals that are available for them to set and for them to step up, make the appropriate steps to reach. So, I just think, that was the best decision for me. It's the best decision for my wife, who's also an angler, who also fishes the opens, who also has the goal, the dream to make the Bassmaster Elite Series, to make the Classic and hoist that trophy someday. So when I look at it like that, the decision for me and my family was easy. And agenda. Everyone's got their own set of sponsors. Everyone's got their own set of personal problems, and you just have to take a look at it and see how your personal life, how your business life aligns with the new format, the new business, and then how it aligns with where you're currently at. And where they could take the future of bass fishing. So to me, it was easy. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, Matt and Mark. My phone is blowing up. I mean, that's how it's been all week long, right? We're talking to guys on the fence. I believe there's 24, 25 of them that got invites that were on the fence, didn't know what they were going to do. There's this huge ring, professional bass fishing, cell phones going on, just cell phone calls going off and going off and going off. And it was like that all through AOY. And right when Justin hoisted that trophy, that night and then the next morning, it really was crunch time. I mean, guys started talking, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? And as soon as I announced the other morning, I think it was yesterday morning, as soon as I announced yesterday morning, my phone went silent. I showed my hand, and no one wanted to know what I was going to do. And that was nice. That was really, really nice. And last night, I slept awesome, man. I slept great. I slept great. I know I made the right decision. And I'm really excited for the future to come. I really am. Another thing to consider too. I mean, that's the emotional side. My personal side. My wife, she's trying to reach a goal. I'm trying to reach a goal. And I had a high school kid in my boat the final day of that Chateau AOY tournament, and he's a high school angler. He's 18 now, just out of high school, and going to be a college angler. And I looked at him. He reminded me of me when I was 18 years old. And I made the appropriate steps. I ended up winning a boat at 19 years old, using that exact boat to fish the Pro-Am levels, the Bassmaster Pro-Ams, and then, from there, fish some FLW stuff. And then when I made the decision to fish as a pro out of that boat, through the Bassmaster Opens, I qualified for the Elite Series my first year. And, that kid right there reminded me of me. And right there, that moment, I knew that final day, that's we need to preserve it. I really believe we need to preserve that. So that's kind of where I was at there, was making that decision. Again, I showed my hand, and a lot of the, on the business side of it, it's everyone's got their own set of problems and set of sponsors, and I talked to every one of my sponsors and made a decision based on that. And of course, I'm a Skeeter Yamaha guy, and I love that. I run that boat because I love that boat. I love that product. I feel like that gives me the best opportunity to compete on the Elite Series, and I love them. They support my decision, and there's just a lot of things. I think Boyd was on the other day, and he said there's a lot of moving parts to what he is, what he's put in place for this new tour. And I don't doubt that one bit. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into creating this new business. And I took a step back. I looked at it both sides. I looked at it objectively, wrote the pros, wrote the cons, dug deep, had a lawyer involved, got into it, and I just found what is right for me. So.
All right, Chris, I'm going to ask you a close-ended question.
That means yes or no.
Yeah, but I would like for you to expand if you could. And
so why do you just make it an open-ended question?
There's a reason, okay? What I want to know is, have you felt like during this whole process like a recruit, of which you've been hearing recruiting pitches from both sides? And how intense was that recruiting process from both of the entities?
Oh man, it got deep. It got really deep. That's exactly what you feel like. You're getting tugged one way, you're getting tugged the other. I was in a group the other day, and Cliff Pace was there. Swindle, the funny man, was there, and I remember Cliff Pace talking about how he made the analogy where you've got one side, one branch over here that's offering this, and you've got another branch to step out on over here, and he was making that analogy, and Swindle cut him off and said, "And you already done fell once." There's been a lot of offers on both sides, and just a lot of consideration on either side, and a lot of influence from individuals on either side. That it got quite personal. It got really, really personal. And yes, I did feel like I did feel like there was some of that going on, and again, everyone is their own individual person. They've got their own set of sponsors. They've got their own goals they want to reach in the sport, and this is the shake-up. I really believe this is the shake-up that the industry needed, that our sport needed. I believe there's some guys say there's going to be a winning side and there's going to be a losing side. Time will tell. Time will tell on that, but. You got to do what's right for you, what's right in your heart, and I feel like I'm there.
In all these conversations, and Mark and I have talked about this on air. You have groups of guys who run together, guys who are friends, guys who aren't, guys who got invites, who have been roommates and friends and fishing partners with guys who didn't get invites for decades. That goes all the way back to the minor leagues. Between the anglers themselves, and you're probably no one better to ask than you, because you've been right in the middle of it as far as one of these 80 guys who has to make this decision. What has this done to the relationships between the anglers? Are guys, hey, you do your thing, I'll do mine, you got a family, I got a family, we do what's best? Are there hard feelings between it? Are guys trying to influence their buddies to stick with them? How is that going behind the scenes from an angler standpoint?
And it's without naming names and getting too far into it. I mean, as you could imagine, look what goes on at the club level, when politicking starts to happen, and politics happen everywhere, but sometimes fist fights occur, and that's no different on our level. And I mean that. So there has been a lot of that going on. There really has, and everyone's got their own personal agenda, right? And they want the guy next to him to support them, right? And they're going to say things to kind of persuade that guy to follow their side. And there's been a whole bunch of that. I know friendships have been busted up over this whole thing, and it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't be that way. If you really cared about that friend or that partner or roommate or whoever it is, you sit there and you talk it out, right? So I without naming names, I know there's been a lot of that, busted up friendships and but on the other side, on the positive side, there's and one of the guys, and I'll go ahead and say his name because I love the guy, Dean Rojas, texted me the other day after he read my announcement that I was staying with Bass, and he texted me and said, man, he goes, good luck with your decision, man. I wish you all the best. And I know for a fact that was from the heart. So, and that kind of stuff goes on too. So a lot of guys wishing each other well, and it's just like the last day of high school, and everyone's going off to college. Where are you going? Are we going to keep in touch? Best of luck, So a lot of that going on. Absolutely.
Chris, how much influence did your sponsors have on your decision?
Oh, dude. I would say less than 50% because we all know sponsors come and go. But at the same time, you have to have their support. You have to have their support. You can't show up to the new tour buck ass naked. You can't show up to the tour, buck naked. You work too hard to be there. You work too hard to gain those sponsors and work with those sponsors and promote those sponsors. You have to have their support no matter what tour you decide to go to. You have to have their support. So I would say it's less than 50%, but I mean, you absolutely had to have it. You had to have their support.
Obviously, if you made decisions to with Bass, you saw some stuff that they were doing. We've seen about 25 guys who fished it who went the other way. You're the only one who has gone and declined the BPT invite. You think you're going to be on an island next year? Or do you think there's going to be a few more in the coming weeks that are going to receive an invite and opt to stay in the Elite Series?
I think there's going to be more I hope and I do really believe there's going to be more on this island, on this desolate island. But there's some good company on that island. Zona, Dave Mercer, the whole production crew, Tommy Sanders, they all said they came out publicly and said they're staying. That's a great group of guys with morale and ethics that I look up to. I look up to those guys. Those are great guys, and I can't wait to work with them. But and not to get too deep into it, but I wasn't really around. I mean, some of the background here, I wasn't around during really the Jerry McInnes regime, the ups and the downs of the Jerry McInnes regime, when he was running Bass and he was promising a lot of things. But I do know that Chase Anderson and his group and his brand new sports marketing group, and the hands that he brought aboard with this whole shakeup, I know great things are around the corner. I have full confidence that he's going to do the right things. Of course, if the MLF announcement wasn't, if it didn't happen this fall, of course, I don't think they would have that kick in the butt, obviously, and they wouldn't step up and give in higher payouts and lower entry fees and promise more airtime and more live cameras. I mean, I'm sure that wouldn't happen. But this just may be the kick in the butt that Bass needed. And this is a kick in the butt that veteran anglers who were, just hanging out on the Elite Series over the last, I would say, 5 years since I've been there, that those type of anglers that have been complaining about no changes and no changes and no changes, I'm starting to see why. But they've been complaining about, dude, we need these changes. Well, the changes are happening, and no one's here. So that's another way to look at it. So I have full confidence in their team and where they're going, and that fire is red hot under their butts, and they are highly motivated to make this thing work, and I stand by their side. I mean, they're the platform. They are the Coca-Cola, and I'm sticking with that brand.
All right, man. One question. Once again, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I'm curious. Once you made the decision and it became public, did Chase Anderson reach out to you?
Yes, he thanked me. He did. Matter of fact, he gave me a call. He reached out. He thanked me. He promised me I made the right decision. And I said, Chase, I trust you. And I look forward to working with you in the future. And not to disclose any details, but he's got a lot of things in the works here that I really think the fishing fans will love. So we'll have to hold tight. I caught the last part of the show there with Lucas, and he said nothing's going to calm down over the next 12 months. That's for sure. We'll just have to buckle up, hold on, and we'll see.
My last question, then I'll piggyback off that. Obviously, you're just an angler, but you did talk to Chase. He alluded to some other things coming. Boyd Duckett probably knows a lot more of the inner workings of the Bass Pro Tour than you do of the Elite Series, but he told us that about 50% of what is actually going to be this new tour, the general public knows about now. And there's still 50% that we can't even comprehend. In your opinion, based on what the Elite Series has released and stuff, and based on kind of what you've heard in your meetings and stuff, what percentage of the Elite Series and all their bells and whistles does the general public know about?
Oh man, that's a good question. First of all, you got to take a look at your quintessential bass fisherman, right? Whether he's the club guy or the college guy or a Bassmaster Elite Series angler, they can't keep a secret, dude. They can't keep a secret. So there's been NDA, non-disclosure agreement signed, but somehow the very next morning leaks occur. So it's been crazy, man. And so if Boyd's saying, 50% of what's going on in MLF, I would say that's pretty accurate. On the Bassmaster side, there's a lot of things in the works that were absolutely reactionary to what went down over the last, couple of weeks. So a lot of reactionary statements and promises and ideas. So I would say only about 25% of the general fishing public knows what's going on at Bass. Probably less than that. I would say probably less than that, but I'm sure there's going to be some major announcements here soon as well. So,
all right.
Wow.
What? Yes or no? In the next 48 hours, another BPT invitee joins you on the Elite Series.
Oh man, that would be. Yeah, I mean. Are you talking about the likelihood?
Yeah. What do you think? You think someone else will in the next 48 hours?
Yeah. I didn't even.
Wait, you got to
go there.
Hang on. You got to repeat that because you were away from your phone or speakerphone or whatever it is. We couldn't hear you.
Okay, so yeah, you're asking the likelihood of another MLF invitee turning down the MLF invite and sticking with Bass. The likelihood of that happening in the next 48 hours, high. The likelihood of that is very high. And again, before I made my announcement and showed my hand, I talked to several anglers that are within my age group that feel this exact same way I do. So, and there still are meetings going on, and there still is, group text going on of these guys on the fence and weighing their options. And does the new fit into their personal agenda, their sponsor's agenda? So there's still a lot of consideration going on, but I guarantee you I won't be alone on the island. I think it'll turn out all right for all.
This is going to be so awesome in a couple years.
Yeah.
To go down and sit back and talk to guys about what went down. What went down
I'm
that
telling
no one
you,
ever
the documentary
knew.
is coming.
Yeah.
It is.
And
Matt, I would love, for both you guys, I would love to see you do the interviews and just store it. Just store
or store all that footage and just come out with a documentary, and it will be labeled the moment bass fishing was changed forever. And this is it, man. It is happening right now, and we don't know what's around the corner. The MLS camps, they don't know what's around the corner. Bass doesn't know what's around the corner, so it's really cool to just kind of find out where the guys end up, and man, it's gonna be exciting. So yeah, I can't wait.
All right, man. A couple of questions from the instant feedback, and then we'll let you go, Chris.
I got all day, so bring on those questions.
Jimmy in Florida wants to know, what was, or can you expand anything on the conversation that you had with your attorney? Was it a good deal? Was it a bad deal? Or can you even make a comment about that?
Man, and I knew a question like that was going to pop up, and I almost called my attorney this morning just to ask him, hey, what can I say and what can't I say? But for right now, I don't think I'll disclose what he said or what he gave me. I can say that. Never mind.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Just move on. Move on.
Next question.
Dude, you've made it through 25 minutes. You're golden right now. Just next question.
Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll save that for the documentary. We're gonna sit down at the Bass Zone studio, the BTL studio, and we'll make that interview.
Okay.
And we'll save it for the documentary, no doubt.
All right. Let's see here.
Well, by the way, while you're saying it, save some of those text chains. Print screen on that. Save some of those. Just throw them on a hard drive and then put it in a lockbox for about 2 years from now.
Absolutely. All right. Brian wants to know, are you bummed about them being bass nixing the West Coast swing?
Yes, absolutely. That question probably came from out west. I am. I really am. And there's a couple of things that prompted that decision. Some might say that the anglers, complained and prompted that decision. Some might say we couldn't afford to go out there. But it's just the scheduling. I've always had a problem. I didn't have a problem with the venues we went to, the lakes that we went to, and the cities we visited over the last 7 years when I was, on tour. But I did have a little issue with the timing, the times we went to these places, and we're supposed to be showcasing the best fisheries at the best times, and that was the Elite Series model for so long, but I can say, that one of the guy that made those decisions on going to the California Delta in June, which is the worst time, and then immediately going to the Columbia River in the Pacific Northwest, and then going all the way to New York after that. The guy who made those decisions at Bass is no longer there, and that's a fact. I can say that. So, back to the question, yeah, I'm super bummed. That was going to be a punch fest, not a punch fest, but, big rod, big weight in the hand, and if you catch 5, you'll have 25 pounds. But, yeah, bummed on that. And also the Columbia River, too, if you do your research and YouTube it. I mean, that place has got more species of fish in it than anything on the West Coast, and it's just a really cool fishery. So connected to the ocean, salmon run, trout run, steelhead, sturgeon, and this, that, perch, and all that. That was a really cool fishery. But I think they replaced it with, Gunnersville and Cayuga, I do believe. Which aren't slouches of the fisheries either. So either way, I'm pumped. Either way, there's going to be a winner at each and every one. But I am bummed that I can't see my friends during another Elite Series competition. The last time we went to the Delta, after the first day, I had 30 pounds. It was 3 years ago now. Then I weighed in at 12
2015.
pounds. Oh, yeah. 15. Yeah, I weighed in a 12-pounder the first day. So that just shows you what type of fishery it is, and that's a shame we're not going back.
All right, Jake in Ohio wants to know if Bass and FLW got together and somehow, some way, they were able to work out their scheduling to where there were no conflicts, would you consider fishing both tours?
Jake in Ohio, that's a good question. And I talked to a smart guy in the industry yesterday that kind of had an idea about, similar to that, where, Bass and FLW would work together with their scheduling and allow the guys to fish both tours, or somehow cross promote with each other and work together, because there's no denying it. There's some big names at FLW. There really are huge names at FLW, and there's some big names still left at Bass. For them to combine and gain more media traction and give the fans what they want to see, that would be awesome. And I don't think that's completely off the table at this point. So we may see that.
All right, man. What else you got, Matthew?
He's just, it's the first time we've ever had an interview where we left with more questions than we did answers. But I guess that's par for the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
I haven't been able to read it. I know David Dudley just posted something I mentioned to end the show, so I can read what he had to say about this whole thing.
What did he say? Let's hear it.
I haven't read it yet. You want me to read it? I'll read it.
Yeah, what'd he say?
He said, hold on.
David in Wisconsin wants to know if I'm going to set a betting line on the remainder of guys on which one that they will go to, like the classic odds.
Wow. Yeah. No, I don't think the majority knows who's on the fence and could disclose those names. I mean, I would like to, but I can't disclose those names. But that would be a really cool betting pool, no doubt.
All right, what you got, Matthew?
I couldn't find it. Okay, here we go. Pull up. I just saw he posted it. Now I got it. Oh, 2 hours ago. BPT thoughts. I find it very interesting that all the golden ticket holders, even owners that were given out to the BPT, have not announced the commitment yet. Is there some behind-the-scenes info that is not looking good, or is Bass making counteroffers? I would have thought that it would have been a race to see who could post on social media first, yet of 752 on Thursday, there are only 31 commits.
That's a good point. And what I say to the fan of bass fishing is ask yourself why. That's why. Unfortunately, we don't have answers for that. I can't give answers to that. But why? Why? Why hasn't the big name? There haven't the big name.
I would also point out that as of 9:38 a.m. on Thursday, there is only one that received a BPT commit who has agreed to the Elite Series.
Yeah. That's me, baby.
Wow.
That's me. Oh, I love it.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Chris. Now, I mean, we had the first guy to announce his
Edwin
MLA.
Evers sprung it on us.
Yeah, when we had him on, last week or a week?
Was
and a half
that last
ago?
week?
I don't know.
I don't have any idea.
And then now we had you on.
I got a question. Where does a man like Steve Kennedy go? Where do you think, Matt? And let me just say that I don't know if he got the invite or not, but where do you, if hypothetically,
let's hypothetically say Steve Kennedy got an invite.
Yeah.
If the man makes his living, it depends if he wants to make big chunks of money or if he wants to make small chunks of money a lot. Because the guy's made his career living. You look back on it, there was a 2 or 3 year period there where he won 2 or 3 tournaments a year, cleared over $200,000, put that money in the bank, and those were big chunk tournaments. The Bass Pro Tour, those are big chunk tournaments. You get a top 3 in that, and you get on a Steve Kennedy roll and rattle off 2 or 3. You don't need any sponsors to make money, even if you're paying $48,000. On the Bass, is he going to probably make more checks over there? Absolutely. Are they going to be as big? Probably not. Does he have a better chance to win the Classic, which is $300,000? Absolutely. So 50-50.
That would be a difficult one to handicap. If you were to place betting odds on whether or not Steve Kennedy stays or goes, that would be a very, very difficult one to handandicap.
Yeah.
Well, his MLF jersey just have a tiger on it?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a very difficult one because he's been self-sustained and he could get after it either way, and very comfortable lifestyle, and it could catch the hell out of him. That's a difficult one to place a bet on, no doubt. So,
all right, man. Well, can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about this craziness that is taking place. But man, you can come on anytime, Chris. We appreciate it. And it's been a long time since that very first conversation that we had on this show. But Best of luck to you, man.
All right, Mark. Appreciate it, Matt, and the fans. Stay buckled, man. A lot's going to happen here coming soon.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Take care,
Dad.
Chris. See ya. All right. There you have it, Chris Zaldain. And you made a very good point, Matthew. A lot more questions after that interview than questions were asked during the interview.
It's
That's
just
some interesting
I just
stuff,
find it
man.
funny that every time we come in and we sit down, we're like, "Oh, we know what's going on now." Wait till we hit the listeners with this knowledge. Then by the time we get to the next show, I'm like, "God, I didn't know crap last show. Like I had no idea what was going on." And every show is like that. Are you kind of in the same boat with me on that?
Yeah.
Like you think you get a handle on it, and then
something else happens.
I mean, is this topic ever going to get? Here's my fear. So remember we talked about the Alabama rig for like 3 straight weeks back in 2011, the beginning of 2012, before we started banning that word, even said on the show.
Yes, sir.
Is this going to be a topic that is talked about ad nauseum to where we just get sick of it? Or is it going to be a situation that's ever evolving and is so pertinent in the industry that it will become like the Days of Our Lives that you so often watch in the office on weekdays?
Yeah, my thoughts, it's got about a 12-month lifespan where it is constantly brought up, talked about in situations. Because the other interesting factor is you're going to have some of these guys, what are they going to be doing in the month of, March?
What do you mean? They're going to be fishing the Classic.
Yeah. Is that not going to be a little bizarre?
I mean, not weirder than the Angler of the Year Championship. I mean, Edwin fished that, and he'd already come out and
Yeah,
said
but think about, probably based upon what Boyd said, you're already going to have 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 MLF events already in the books. Their program is going to be tremendously established, having those first 1, 2, 3 events, whatever the number is. And then the guys show up at the Classic.
What do they?
It's going to be even weirder.
Do they just have the confetti and fireworks queued up for about 18 guys?
I mean, what happens if an MLF guy wins the Classic?
Are they going to have a list next to it that says these are the guys that don't get fireworks, music, or confetti?
You're telling me it's going to be enormously weirder than the AOY
Here's
championship.
the other thing you have to think about. I don't care how neutral Bass tries to be in this situation, which I think they're going to try to be neutral. And I think the MLF guys are going to be very gracious. We already talked about, Boyd said on the show he wanted to win one more. Edwin talked about how much there's going to be a lot of thank yous. There's going to be a lot of guys tearing up, I believe, because they're actually going to be realizing.
You're going to have an over-under on how many tear-ups?
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, how difficult is that going to be for Bass to be neutral with their coverage of that? Because
that's what is going to be so bizarre about that.
I mean, if you've got a guy
especially if it was somebody that was enormously vocal.
Let's say you've got a guy in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th who are MLF guys, because pretty much everybody's there is going to be in the MLF. Outside that, but then you're like 5th, 6th, 7th place guys are coming back to the Elite Series.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Because the guys at Bass feel like the people are, leaving them. They feel like they're leaving them.
Well, that's why I say 12 months, because it's definitely going to lead up to that. And then you're going to have probably about a month or 2 of more fallout from that. So, 8 to 12 months maybe. And then I think it's finally going to die down a little bit, because the other thing is you're not going to have the churn and turnover in the MLF field because it's a 3-year commitment.
Right, but here's what also you're not thinking about. What have both of these organizations said? It's a fluid process. They're going to work their way through it. They're both now, it's all about listening to the anglers. The MLF is going to have it where you can vote. The Elite Series is going to have this new advisory panel. They're going to be able to change things. So what's going to happen 8 to 12 months from now? We're going to have a year under our belt. It's going to be this brand new Elite Series. It's going to be this brand new MLF. Now, for the next 4 months, all we're going to talk about are the changes that they're going to be coming out with on a weekly basis. The tic-tac.
So do you think longer than 8 to 12 months then?
This is a 2 to 3 year deal. You're talking about something that was established 60 years old.
I'm talking about...
And something that's brand new now.
I know. I get it. But what I'm talking about is the intensity and discussion that is taking place solely on the decision to either fish one or the other.
I don't think we're going to be able to have a show in the next 2 years, Mark, where something about the decision or this process is not brought up. Like, gone are the days of just having a show and being like, oh, how about that new crankbait? And we have, Angler B come on and talk about the tournament and the bait that he used and how impressive it was, and we don't talk about this at all. That's like years away.
But the cool thing about us, it makes no difference to us. We're going to talk about everything.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to cover everything. We're going to talk about everything. And we have zero agendas or anything like that. We're just going to speak the truth, man. The truth. And and hopefully, I really hope that that's part of the reason why guys come on this show, is because we don't have any hidden agendas or anything like that. I mean, the way this thing is playing out, somebody put on the instant feedback, Matt, what are we going to cover on location next year? I'm going to be honest with you. We don't know.
No clue.
We don't know.
We've thrown the idea around all MLFs. We've thrown the idea around all Elite Series. We've thrown the idea around, screw it, let's go to the stable one and cover all the FLWs.
We don't know.
And now I think are we at some hybrid now of 2 or 3 Elites, 2 or 3 MLFs, 2 or 3 FLWs? Are we going to split it half and half?
We don't know.
We should just say screw it and not go to any of them.
But what I do know is starting in January of 2019, BTL is going to 3 days a week. So we are going to bump up. We're going to have one additional day in January 2019. We will do 3 live shows a week. And then on Thursday and Friday will be best ofs, because we have an enormous amount of history of this show now. So we're going to throw out some best ofs on Thursday and Friday.
I wonder if MLF will come out with a list of who they invited or just who is fishing it.
No.
Will there be some guys that got invited that maybe we never know about?
Maybe, but very few. Very few.
All right.
Very few.
Okay.
All right. I no.
Think
Very
back
few.
to 15 minutes ago.
Good point, man. It is constantly changing. By the way, man, Jimmy in Florida is calling you out.
For what?
He said Kennedy didn't make $200K in a year.
Between Bass and FLW, go back into the 90s and stuff.
Right, he's calling you out. You may have to prove that so you can
All right.
throw it down back to him on Tuesday's show. All right, what do we have coming up on Tuesday? Do we know yet?
No. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff. If you notice what we do with the show, we put out when the next show is, and then as things develop, we add on who it is and what it is.
All right, because with the constant change that is taking place, that's the way it's got to be. Jeez. By the way, on Tuesday, I will have the little
this is the
glitch or whatever it is. Yeah, I have no idea what was going on. So appreciate Chris and Justin for taking part in the show once again. We will be back on Tuesday, same time, and I've got a surprise for Tuesday. The pocketbooks are opening up again, Matthew. We're going to offer a little incentive money out there for the listeners.
Really?
Both on the live show and on the iTunes podcast. So, by the way, Ike Live's taking place. I wonder if he's going to make the announcement on...
Yeah, he said, I think
Ike
Brian
Live.
the Carpenter said he was.
Right.
Next week. Like the 7th or something, or the 9th. Or...
Yeah. You think he's all in?
No,
He's an owner.
I'll tell you what. What did I say at the beginning of the show? It's interesting on certain posts which get the double tap, and certain posts which don't get the double tap, and certain posts which get the comments.
Yeah. By the way, it's good to see Tyler from College Station on the instant feedback again. He asked a question, and I will address that question. I will not forget. It's a great question. We just don't have time for me to answer it. About some of the financial decisions of Bass. So we'll get into that on Tuesday, and then we will have somebody on the show. Who knows who it's going to be, but we will continue to break down the developing situation on who is going where. What do you got this weekend, Matthew? Nothing?
I'm going to go watch a horse run around a barrel.
All right, well, good luck with that.
I'm also going to go fishing for a day because it's a bit nippy outside.
In the 40s this morning.
Have a little overcast action. A little squeaking buzzbait going on. Maybe a little topwater action.
All right, good stuff. Back at Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Everybody, Be safe. We will talk to you next week.